Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our first panel discussion on the topic From Efficiency to Intelligence, Reinventing Banking Operations with Agentic AI. In this session, we will explore how leading banks are leveraging Agentic AI to move beyond automation and achieve intelligent, self-optimizing operations. It's my privilege to invite on stage our esteemed speaker for this session, Mr. Rishi Arora, Managing Partner, IBM Consulting India and South Asia, Mr. Deepak Ramanathan, Vice President, Customer Advisory, Asia Pacific SAS, Mr. Nalin Agarwal, Director, Solutions Engineer, Dynatrust, Mr. Samir Gupta, Head, Business Development and GTM Financial Services, South Asia, Amazon Web Services, Mr. Saurabh Shukla, Chief Technology Officer, Bank of Baroda, Mr. Sarang Khewale, Deputy Chief Technology Officer, State Bank of India, and our moderator for this session, Mr. Abhilash Sridharan, Partner, McKinsey & Company. Welcome, everyone. Over to you, sir.
Hello, everyone, and thanks to our esteemed panelists. The focus of today's discussion is on how is the advent of agentic AI expected to help reimagine banking operations, right? This is a pertinent topic because banking operations as a space has been at the forefront of getting reimagined several times, starting from lean reimagination to digital intervention to simple automation. And now the advent of agentic AI gives an opportunity to completely transform the space, right? In fact, we as McKinsey & Company, we've recently written a massive report on breaking the full banking operations of a bank in Asia down to about 600 processes and sub-processes and identifying how exactly can AI all the way from basic, deterministic, traditional, agentic can help reimagine this, right? One of the aspects which is quite unique about how you attack this problem is this is multidimensional. This is not just about business, operations, and technology coming together. There are questions around operating model, risk and resilience, data governance, and a multitude of other issues which we would have to think through. One of the previous speakers talked about Darwin's theory and being relevant and evolving in the age of agentic AI. So why don't we learn from our panelists on how exactly we're seeing institutions learn, adapt, and evolve in the age of agentic AI. So perhaps if I could start with Mr. Saurabh Shukla. Look, we all know that banks have spent years automating tasks and workflows. But as you move from rule-based automation towards agentic AI systems that can make decisions across end-to-end operations wall to wall, what fundamentally changes here?
So sure, I'll keep it simple. So we are moving from the automating tasks to largely automating the outcomes. So that's the fundamental thing, and over the years we are doing the rule-based automation, and that is largely operates on the deterministic logic, like if this is A and then the condition will be B. So likewise it's working, and it works very stable when the things are stable, rules are stable, data is consistent, input is constant, but fundamentally the things start changing when we change the context or we start facing inconsistencies, and that requires a lot of rework in those processes, like we have to further work on the code and all those things, and that is how we work on the traditional automation. And with the agentic stuff, when the agentic AI, because it's a goal-based and is a context-aware, a lot of things change. It can plan things, it can ask for the missing data, it can reason it can look on the past information, it can track any action towards the goal, and that is how it is changing, and that makes it very, very interesting. Because traditionally we were doing, it's like all the automation is like very, very task oriented and the series of tasks. Some of the things we have done refinement, some certain complex tasks we have taken, but fundamentally that is how it's worked. But now with agentic AI, the entire processes and entire journey can be orchestrated. That's a fundamental difference. So we can think of onboarding processes, we can think of underwriting, we can think of compliances. So all these processes can be stitched together to lead the better outcome. So that's a fundamental difference, and I'll supplement it with the couple of examples. Just like in traditional role-based systems or rule-based automation, what we do, if we take, we all do underwriting, and in underwriting, one important step is like entire financial statement analysis. So traditionally, automation look into the financial data and it can play certain triggers, like I can see there are trend mismatch in the cost and revenue. There is a revenue dip, but it will stop there. It will not go further. And while the agentic system, it can go to the cause. Actually, what are the drivers? Why actually this particular trend is showing? It can ask for some missing information. It can ask for additional information. When people respond, it can reason, question, and then it will actually lead it for the some sort of decision with a rational and hand it over to the human so that human can actually take the ultimate decision. Obviously, all the guardrails, checks, and all those things. You can take any process, like the entire covenant tracking system that works like is a stage gate with a flags on, like you can say that's like covenant is reaching. You can take where the breaches and all those things. All those things can be done, but you cannot go beyond this and pursue it and follow up for the action, talk to different stakeholders, complete the documentation, do proper closure. So that is how the entire thing is changing, and that is how that entire stuff is very, very important. Fundamentally, if I say and sum up it, like the benefits are immense, obviously, but fundamentally we have to understand one thing. We are moving out of the system where we are managing the tons of the scripts, and that is how, and now we are making a system and managing a system which takes decision or support the decision. So fundamental change require a lot of changes in the operating model, how actually it should be institutionalized. A lot of rigor need to be taken into the cleanness of the data. We have to understand the guardrails are there, controls are there, human in the loop should be there from the design, from the material decisions. So all those things are very, very important. So fundamentally, if I say that, and that's the major difference, because we are moving this entire like outcome to very intelligent kind of system which can automate the lot of outcomes. So that is what my take.
Very helpful. Thank you, and thanks for sharing the example on underwriting and how it's changing the from to. Perhaps if I may build on that and ask Mr. Sarang Kevle, very similar to the underwriting example, as ops becomes more AI driven, how do you think about the right productivity metrics? How do you redefine the productivity metrics from just efficiency and cost towards other dimensions around effectiveness, accuracy, decision quality, etc.? And how do you have control over agentic AI needed in the future?
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So last 1 decade had been a lot of programs we are running in our respective banks related to increasing the efficiency, be it digitalizing the papers or integrating various systems. In certain cases, we are following the core. So time has come wherein many of us feel that the activities we started a decade ago had come to a level. The efficiency has been touching the ceilings, and here is where we need to really shift, whether we should be improving the existing processes or should we re-engineer something very, very innovative which will completely replace the earlier processes. And that's where the shift of efficiency will go to the intelligence. Now, when we say this, I remind one example where in one of the bank actually did one customer survey. The customer survey was to understand what is the customer experience from banking systems. Surprisingly, thousands of customers made a comment that they are not expecting banking. They are expecting banking in the form of an experience which is similar to Spotify, wherein I am expecting some services and you are suggesting me the 4th action plans. If that is the case, then Agentic AI is going to play a vital role here. More and more use cases of Agentic AI will also overuse this technology, and here is where one fundamental question will come, is that are we going to lose control over these technologies? One simple example I'll tell you, being the engineering background, always had a question, why our Indian railways are not increasing the speed beyond 150, 200. It's so easy, no? It's so easy to, match 300, 400 kilometers per hour also. The thing is, when we are expanding the speed, it is equally important that how are we controlling that efficiently. If we do not have the sufficient and efficient braking system in our place, then increasing the speed might one fine day go against us. Same rule applies into banking system also, wherein are we really guarded with the rail guards when we are using the AI. That reminds me those two movies also, wherein in Matrix as well as in Judgment Day. If you remember, one fine day, AIs will start creating their own agents. If that is the day 5 years, 10 years down the line, should we really start working on those rail guards which will actually start protecting our AI agents that you should not be going beyond these boundaries. So those are the control rails which we need to really start working on this today, because that is the need. Why this is important for BFSI sector is because we are the bank. The basic difference between fintech and bank is people trust in us. And if people trust in us, and if they are expecting Spotify kind of experience for which we are infusing technology, at the same time we have to also see that that technology should not one fine day overrun human technology, which actually will be out of our control. So in a bottom line, I can say that technology is definitely going to enable us. However, we have to start putting certain efforts in controlling that also, maybe in the form of policies or in the form of putting some agentic AI. See, if the threats are coming from agents, we will have the defense mechanism in the form of agentic defense system itself. So can we not use agentic AI for the control system also? So the bottom line here is, tomorrow the quick alerts are not going to protect us. It will be the faster judgments on top of that, for which we should be effectively using agentic AI.
Very helpful, Mr. Kevle. Thank you. Perhaps building off of that, which is around, striking the right balance between becoming fully autonomous and where human oversight is still needed and non-negotiable. Maybe Mr. Samir Gupta. Samir, you've also been a banker before your technology role. Wall to wall, when you look at it, which are the operational areas between servicing, trade processing, collections, reconciliations in the operations side, where it's closest to becoming fully autonomous versus where human oversight is still non-negotiable?
Thanks, Abhilash, for that question, and morning, everyone. Before I delve into the exact scenarios that we are seeing play out with our customers, I would just want to share an experience that happened last month with me. We were sitting in a leadership executive coaching session, and we were discussing on how, as all of us individuals are sitting in this room, how do we reinvent and reimagine ourselves for the next decade or next 2 decades and so on. And we were discussing various theories around, say, T-shaped approaches that are said, which is your vertical is your specialization and the horizontal is the breadth of experience that you gain. And then we discussed, can we become a pie-shaped where we have 2 deep specializations and 1 horizontal. And there were discussions around, are you a small T where the breadth is smaller, so can you expand the breadth and so on. And when I was thinking about agentic AI around that similar context, most of the architectures of agentic AI talk about a master agent or a supervisor agent or an orchestrator agent, which is orchestrating probably tens, hundreds or thousands of specialist agents. And that's exactly what, the content part, which is the deep specialization, and the context part, which is understanding and applying market insights, customer insights, understanding and reasoning as to what next needs to be done and so on, is what agentic AI workflows are doing essentially. And from that experience, I realized that essentially when you are looking at creating those workflows of agentic AI where there is an orchestrator agent and there are these specialist agents, even as leaders, whether we are MD CEOs or we are business heads or we are unit heads, there are a few processes that we leave autonomous to happen because of various reasons. There are a few things where we reason out with other stakeholders, we go to our seniors and superiors and so on. Now, applying this context into agentic AI is a framework that I believe works very well in terms of the patterns that we are seeing with our customers, which is called CRM. where C stands for complexity of the entire workflow or the task that is being done. R stands for the risk and the regulatory aspects that needs to be taken care of. And M is the maturity. I think Gayatri spoke about that piece, that the maturity of the organization itself in acknowledging how much of technology, AI, data, etc. is being relevant in the organization. And these three pillars ultimately will define how are you really creating completely autonomous processes or agentic AI workflows in your organization, or are you keeping human in the loop for certain scenarios. And we are seeing a pattern of again various gradient or tiering, if I may call it. And we are bucketed that into three A's again, calling out the three A's here. Autonomous, the second one is augmented, and the third one is assisted. And these are the three patterns that we are seeing with respect to agentic workflows, not just specific agents, but even agentic workflows, where there are certain low risk, high volume, standardized processes which are completely autonomous, and they are built by humans, and humans only look at those processes maybe once a quarter or once every half year to audit those processes. For example, document extraction, data extraction from document, which has matured over the last decade or so significantly. Or for example, routine responses of your email queries, etc. These are completely autonomous, and obviously you do an audit every quarter, 6 months, depending on how the edge cases have been handled by this agentic AI process. The second is assisted, which is where you are looking at assistance from the AI in terms of looking at research reports, looking at generating analysis of data, and there was some reference around analysis which happened here. There, the human is actually getting assisted by AI. They are taking the ultimate consumption of that output that is coming, and they are improving their efficiency. And the last one is the whole augmentation piece, which is where the whole point which is coming, that you are getting augmented by AI workflows, fraud, compliance, underwriting, onboarding. All of these are use cases where the ultimate decision is with the human, at least as of now in these cases. But even there, if I just give certain examples, a low risk merchant onboarding can potentially be completely autonomous. And if we talk about a high risk customer onboarding or an underwriting for a very specific case, there you are actually augmenting the entire process with agentic AI, but having a human who is ultimately taking the decision. And this gives a comfort level to pretty much every organization, every control function in the organization, and as well as the customers as well from a trust point of view. And there was a reference around the whole trust piece that needs to be built in with these agentic processes as well. So that's the whole approach that we are seeing in terms of how this is maturing, in terms of what can become fully autonomous versus what still needs some level of oversight by humans.
Love both of those frameworks, Samir. The context, risk, maturity, and the autonomous, assisted, and augmented. So I think it's the right segue. Maybe Mr. Rishi or Roy, if I may, given that the framing that Samir had. Now we know agentic AI cuts across business, operations, core tech, risk, data, multiple other areas, right? So operating model becomes super critical, right? In terms of roles, decision rights, ownership, for you to ensure that you can scale intelligent operations across the enterprise. And especially as you're sharing some of your thoughts, would also love to hear, how do you think about operational resilience given multiple stakeholders and vendors are involved here?
Thank you, Avilash. I think two parts to this question, right? One is on the operating model side, and the second bit is on the operations resilience. Yeah. Let me start with the operating model side first. My friend Saurabh, he spoke about the process bit. Sarang, spoke about the compliance and the guardrails, right? Samir spoke about the physical and basically the human and the digital agent interfaces coming together. Yeah, all very relevant from an operating model perspective. So we do this, we do this survey. We do the survey, IBM's Institute of Business Value, IBV survey. And as per that survey, right, the one which we did on agentic AI, about 78% of executives, they spoke about a new operating model. New operating model change in the existing operating model, right? Let me elaborate a bit on what is, what is this new operating model. What are the contours of this new operating model, right? So I will start with the process. See, you cannot, force fit AI into your existing process. You will not get the benefits, right? So, process re-engineering or looking at the process, streamlining the process, elimination, simplification of the process. So, process is a big part of the new operating model. You need to relook at it. No use force fitting. The second element I would talk about is the underlying, infrastructure and data, right? For your AI models to work, your AI data layer, needs to be ready, right? So you need to, you need to plan for it again to gain or, the maximum benefits from AI. One of the most important aspects of operating model, according to me, is change management. When you have a new process, when you have infused new technology in your, organizations, your organization goes through a change management process. The reasons why, AI programs have not delivered the benefits what were perceived, right? This change management part has a very big role to play in that, right? And change management cuts across various functions. It's across technology, business, across all functions, right? Then I will also talk about the governance aspects of it. Yeah. So how do you govern the models which are getting implemented? How do you govern basically ensuring that these models are complied, ensuring that these models are free of hallucinations, ensuring these models are free of bias, looking at what benefits these models are deriving. So AI governance is a big part of the operating model. So I spoke about process, I spoke about technology and data, I spoke about the entire change management, and I spoke about governance. We at IBM, we have our AI powered platform called ICA, which is IBM Consulting Advantage, which our consultants are deploying across customers. We have seen benefits of about 35 to 40% in efficiency. And what does it mean for our clients? It basically means turnaround times. It basically means a faster time to market. Yeah. Now let me just talk about the second part of your question, which is operations resilience. See, when you deploy enterprise-wide AI programs, and we are not talking department or one AI, we are talking enterprise-wide AI programs. Enterprise-wide AI programs cut across functions: marketing, sales, technology, finance, HR. It cuts across your organization. So basically, the point which Samir again made, the combination of physical and digital labor, as we call it, they coming together, right, to ensure that the derived outcomes which are expected are delivered. That's extremely important from an operations resilience perspective. And finally, I would just want to reiterate the entire AI governance piece from an operations resilience perspective. Without governance, you will not be able to deliver the outcomes you had perceived as an organization. So from a resilience perspective, it is more of digital and physical labor coming together and AI governance. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that very comprehensive view. You've laid out the full stack from the process and application to the data ontology to the change management and operating model. So thank you for that. You touched upon something, and I mean, it comes as no surprise that you underscored and reinforced the importance of change management. Maybe if I build off of that, and Mr. Nalin Agarwal, as you've seen institutions move from AI pilots to enterprise scale deployments, what are some of the biggest lessons that have been learned, and what are some of the surprises which you've been shocked with?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Abhilash, and very good morning to everybody. So, this few things which I have learned based on working on these various banks here. One of the areas I focus is how do you build a strategy of observability into a bank where they are bringing in more and more resiliency, they are bringing in more and more AI for predicting issues which can happen in future, and they are able to take actions and plan actions now. Now, in this case, agentic coming in brings a lot of intelligence from their own systems and the data which is collected by the observability platform. The amalgamation of both of these things really help us. So, I will give you one example of what a new operations look like when it comes to AI based autonomous, or rather agentic AI based autonomous operations. So, there are three pieces to it. One is predictability, that is a prediction AI. Second is an AI which can help me identify the root cause across all the entities of my bank. And third is what fix can I apply to the given issue. Most common examples which I am working with is into UPI, and some of the AI projects which are running into this is like fraud detection, conversational AIs which are into call center automation, or maybe chatbots. And one simple example of chatbot is that when you give a call to one of the toll numbers, you instead of a person talking, there is actually an AI robot which is talking to you. Now, the person is saying, we saw you were looking for personal loan, and what would you be interested in? Instead of answering that question, the person answered, I am in a hospital, can I call later? Because the sound from the other side looks very, very real. It feels as if you're talking to a real person, right? So now you see the response. Completely nothing about banking, it's completely different response. So how does AI was able to comprehend this response and give the person, oh, should I give you a medical claim, or should I give you medical insurance, or it started talking about health insurance because I said the word hospital, and this is where it drifted, and this was something which had to be captured in the response. So what happens is we were able to give these kinds of insight to the people who were actually trying to understand that where is my model hallucination, or where is it drifting from the question which has been asked, input which has been given versus the outcome which should have been there, right? Similarly, in mobile app reviews, so what they are doing is they are taking if I am launching something new on the mobile app side, how can I take those initial level of data from the utilization of the app to answer some of the questions which can fix the performance and end user experience of the app. So these are all the new initiatives which many of the banks in India are doing. I'm really happy that I have a lot of use cases which I can share to the external world, that people are, the way we are working with AI observability on this. So the term is AI observability. And when we monitor these RAG pipelines or these models, etc., the piece is called AI observability. So this is a new initiative. Every financial sector in India is doing a lot, and I am working very closely. One example I will give you of how the autonomous operation looks like. Traditional monitoring method was that you monitor a metric, it could be CPU, memory, disk, etc. Then you see, is it deviating from its usual behavior, and the threshold breaches. When the threshold breaches, then you take an action. This is a traditional way of monitoring a system. What is the new way of doing the same thing is, can I know of all my disks, which disk is going to fill fast? This is a predictable behavior. This can be detected today, and the ones which are going to fill fast, I can design an action today itself when they fill, whenever they fill up. Very common example in UPI which I have seen is when when people the salaries are given and people are started making the payments, suddenly there is a spike in the UPI transactions. And the issues which I have commonly seen, network jitteriness is there. Second issue which will be there is your Kubernetes node on which the system is running, that starts to drift. And these are some of the key issues which I have seen. And Agentic AI is able to give them which route to choose. And the second thing which is able to do is which node you should push the load to. These are some of the areas where Agentic AI today is able to help automate the operations. So these were some of my inputs, Abhilash. Hope people found it useful.
That's extremely helpful, Nalin. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And maybe to wrap up the perspectives with Mr. Deepak Ramanathan, one thing which hasn't changed in banking for many years is the criticality of customer experience. As the son of a public sector banker, I remember having this Gandhiji's quote behind my mother's desk on the customer being the most important person in a bank's premises, and it hasn't changed 100 years later. So from a customer experience point of view, as you deploy Agentic AI through banking operations, how do you think about reimagining it from her or his perspective and create moments of delight?
Sure. Thank you, and good morning. It's really pleasant being in Mumbai. I'll start off with a quote. Okay.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
I'll start off with a quote, right, which is the saying that there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. And in the years 2023 to 2025, have absolutely felt like the former, that weeks have happened in decades. I mean, in our living lifetime, if you think about being in 10 years ago, if you were in San Francisco standing on Market Street and a taxi came up with no driver in it, you would not get into it. Right now, that's par for the course. You expect no driver coming in a taxi. Autonomous driving is here, at least in San Francisco. It'll take some time before it comes to Mumbai, but it's here, right? And that decades have happened in weeks. Similarly, I think, let me sort of guide you through what the experiences of us working with customers across the US, EMEA, Singapore, Australia, and Japan, and what their experiences have been with Agentic AI. So I think with 2023, July or something, of 2023 when it was first released, I think it stunned the world because typically technology comes in from either the military, either the government, or it comes from in corporate, right? And it takes some time before it actually percolates out. This was the first piece of technology that onboarded customers at the fastest rate possible. You're talking about 30 million people got joining in less than a month. Obviously, the experience was phenomenal because your grandfather was using it, your kids were using it for their high school homework, and the uptake was just incredible, which means that this technology had legs, right? And it became a boardroom conversation, which is, is this the new gen AI that we are talking about? What we need to do? In 2024, I think the previous speaker was talking about it. We saw lots of POCs happening around Gen AI, both from an internal corporate perspective, but also what it means for an external world. Most customers, our financial services customers, put a pause on external customers, the external experience, because they felt it was fraught with peril because of things like hallucination, the cost of the experience. So, but they did see in 2024, I think a lot of our customers did see enormous productivity values in this large Gen AI world, right? The previous speaker had a slide with all of these different capabilities that are there in a bank, right, internally, and they started implementing those and saying like, well, this, like for instance, credit automation, and they found enormous amount of benefits from a personal productivity perspective. But the entire of 2024 till the end of 2024, I think most banks realized they'll have to redo a lot of their plumbing for it. They'll have to redo some of their core applications. But where do they start? So if 2024 was the year of FOMO, it was the fear of missing out, 2025 for a lot of our customers was ROMO, which is relief on missing out, right? Because I think they had gone through the expense of 2024, which was heavy. So they said, let's take a step back. And this is across the board of all of our customers. Let's take a step back and see what we can actually do with it. Now, if you have to get AI exposed to your end users, to your customers, there has to be guardrails in place. Till, I think till June, I would say till May, people were trying to figure out what those guardrails were. So do they plumb the guardrails on their own? Do they build guardrails around the models? And how do they sort of figure those things out? What has really changed, and for all of you who are technologists and bankers, which all of you are, what has really changed came in July of last year, which was the announcement of the Model Context Protocol from Claude and the A2A protocol from Google, right? A protocol basically allows you for standardization. Now, the next step that's happening is a lot of our customers are going back and taking a look at their current applications and breaking those applications down into these model context protocols. So the model context protocols automatically provide you those guardrails. Over and above, of course, the AI navigators, the AI governance pieces in there. So the first applications we are seeing are getting rolled out, because what model context protocols allow you to do is they allow all of these different applications, your core banking, your loan origination systems, your treasury systems, to now talk to each other, right? Because there's a context put in behind those models. So what is happening right now is a lot of retuning is happening of applications to fit that model context protocol. And the A2A, to my mind, is the biggest invention since HTTP protocol in terms of how customers will experience the bank and experience the agents from the bank. So I think 2026, you will find these kind of applications coming out, releasing in full steam.
Thank you, Deepak. Exciting time. I know time's up. I'll just steal 1 minute, and it's going to be a rapid fire. With that, we'll wrap it up. So maybe if we can start with Mr. Sarang Kevle. Request each of you to maybe, in the world of an X or Twitter, just one line as you're taking a forward-looking crystal ball on AI. If you have to summarize in one line, what would that be?
So in my opinion, Agentic AI is not going to replace human. It's going to liberate human, because when Agentic AI is going to go in execution part of it, humans are going to build the policies and the railguards around it for better future.
So real power of Agentic AI will come when we'll stop thinking the incremental automation. We have to clearly reimagine the entire outcome. And we are not investing only on the AI and AI infrastructure. We will be sufficiently investing in the policy changes, process changes, strong governance, and the data foundation.
I'll just add 2 quick points. One is ruthlessly learn prompt engineering. Understand how to use all these generative AI tools, because that is an area where we are missing out on. And the second piece I would say is that use it top down from a culture standpoint as well.
If you want your AI projects to be successful, think of AI observability as a strategy much earlier in the stage of development of AI projects.
2026 promises to be the age of AI.
Okay, I would say this era is going to be the era of human agents, assistant partnerships, being on the right side of compliance.
What a way to finish. Thanks to our esteemed panelists, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello. Thanks indeed to distinguished panelists for the insightful discussion on the topic and our moderator for navigating the discussion so effortlessly. May I request dignitaries to please be on stage for a group photograph, please? Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.